So today we're going to be doing the spirometry experiment. The spirometry uses an instrument called a spirometer. This is a handheld spirometer, and what it does is detect certain conditions that have impairment of pulmonary function, which could be like emphysema, asthma, or certain kinds of heart conditions that will cause you to have shortness of breath. So this handheld one is really just a screening device. The way you use it is to get a mouthpiece and you put it on this end here. Put it on really good so you're not going to lose any of the air. I'm going to be blowing into here or breathing into here. And then we measure the volumes of air that go in and out of my mouth and my lungs, because it gets down into my lungs. And we can measure that with this dial here. I'm going to focus in on the dial right now. And you can see that there's numbers there. And as you set the thing at 0, there's a 0 up here, the numbers go around and it measures it in cubic centimeters, would be the volume of air that you breathe in or out. So I will be following along and show you the different lung capacities and volumes that are in your instructions for the spirometer. We'll just go along, and the first one that's there is your vital capacity. Don't have to focus on that. The vital capacity is the total amount of air. Now the reason I wanted to do this, sorry I didn't say this first, was because you get this in your lecture. You get something that looks like this. You can kind of see that with the lines that go up and down, and it's like you get words, you have a picture here on a page, and it means absolutely nothing, and you just try and memorize which words go with which lines on the graph. So what I wanted to do with this video is give you an idea of what's actually going on physically when you're breathing, and then the words make a little bit more sense. So the first one we're going to do is vital capacity. Vital capacity is a big long line that goes all the way from the top. You can look on the second page of your instructions that have this same kind of graph. And vital capacity is this big long one. It refers to how much breath I can take into my lungs if I breathe in all the way as much as I can, like this, and then breathe all the way out. Keep going, keep going. So that is all the amount of air that my lungs can hold. So I'm going to try that using the spirometer. What I do is I breathe in all the way. Not going to quite do it yet because I'm talking. And then I'm going to pinch my nose so that the air doesn't come out my nose while I'm breathing out, because then I wouldn't measure it. So I'm going to breathe in, hold my nose, breathe out into here, make a nice seal, and see what number it comes out to be. So here we go. I have to get ready for this. Okay, if you look on the dial, which you can't see right now, I looked there and it went past 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So that's about 3,500 cubic centimeters or 3.5 liters. So I would record that. If you look in your directions here, it says to try it 3 times and then to write down the maximum value. So that would be the one that you would use. Okay. The next one we're going to look at, if you look on your chart, is these smaller lines that go up and down. Those smaller lines that go up and down, kind of like a wave, is called your tidal volume. And the tidal volume is just that. It's the amount that you keep breathing in and out when you're just relaxed normally. So So it's how much do I breathe in and out? How much air is going into my lungs when I'm sitting there at rest? Now I'm not sitting here at rest right now, but we'll try it. So I'm going to turn the dial back to 0 to measure. Back at 0. And if I do it just once, it's not even going to show up on this thing. So I have to breathe in and out like 5 times. So I get to where I am normally, and I'm going to just kind of get to a normal breathing state here. And then I'm going to try and breathe in and out 5 times. Okay, so it would be about 1,000. So that would make it only 200. This is a lot. That's less than what it would normally be, but that's what it came out to be this time. So you would divide that by 5, and that would give you how much volume of air you normally take in and breathe out each time. The next one that we're going to do is called the expiratory reserve volume. So if you look on your chart, after I breathe out, I could still actually breathe out a little bit more if I force it, if I use the muscles and force that air out. For what we're doing, it is here, I breathe out normally, and then I can still breathe out more like this. Okay, so we could measure that, and what they tell you to do is to measure that 3 times and then take the average. So I would breathe out and then breathe out the rest. And I would get about 900. It didn't quite make it to the 1,000 that time. Okay, so that would be your expiratory reserve volume. Next volume that's in there is called the residual volume. The residual volume is this part that's down here that's in a different color. That we really can't measure. We can't measure that because that doesn't come out of your lungs when you breathe out. We already breathed out as much as we can, but even when we breathe out all the way, there's still a little bit of air in there. And I'm not going to tell you why. I'm going to let you research that and figure out how come there's still air in there and where is it? Because that's going to be a question that I'm going to ask you on the lab. So the next one that we'll look at is inspiratory reserve. Inspiratory reserve is kind of the opposite of expiratory reserve. It's if I breathe in normally, I could still have some more that I breathe in. We can't measure that with the spirometer because the spirometer only measures what I breathe out. So the way that we can figure that, so I'm going to demonstrate what that is first. So if I breathe in normally and breathe in, I can still breathe in more. That extra part is the reserve, the inspiratory reserve. How do I know how much that is? Well, if you look on your chart, that would be the amount from after I breathe in all the way up to the top line here. And I have my total capacity, your total vital capacity here. Well, if I subtract my tidal volume and my expiratory reserve volume, that amount that's left would be the amount that would be my inspiratory reserve. So that's how I figured out that volume. Then your inspiratory capacity would be just to be the vital capacity minus the expiratory reserve. The capacity is the combination of your inspiratory reserve and your tidal volume. That's the whole amount that you could breathe in. And then your total lung capacity will be the whole amount of your vital capacity plus the amount that you can't measure. That would be the total lung capacity. And that would be all of them. Yep. So that's all of them. So using those things, you'll follow the instructions in here. I will have pictures of all my results. You'll use those pictures of the results, fill them in on this table, and then figure out what my vital capacity is, what my tidal volume is, what my expiratory reserve volume is, my inspiratory reserve, my inspiratory capacity, and my total lung capacity. Okay? And that's your lab. Thanks.